Welcome back to Midnight Movie Club and my review of The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. The Devil Made Me Do It was directed by Michael Chavez, the same man who directed The Curse of La Llorona, and the film was written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. The story follows the Warrens once again as they investigate a murder that could well be linked to a demonic possession where they were involved before. During an exorcism, something has lingered and passed on to someone else, and it has caused a death, and this poor young lad is on trial because of it, and he's trying to plead not guilty due to, demonic possession. So it's up to the Warrens to kind of step in, gather evidence, and testify in his name to try and get him off. They keep saying, the court accepts the existence of God. It's time they done the same with the devil. Right off the bat, first impressions though, I was deeply disappointed by this one. I was expecting more, especially with Ed and Lorraine Warren being in it again and part of the main narrative. I'm not sure if this is The Conjuring 3, it's just The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It, but with them two being in it and being so involved and being the main characters again, I was expecting it to be at the level of The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, whereas this one, once again, just felt like one of the spin-offs, just felt not that good. It was definitely better than The Nun and the first Annabelle movie. I didn't think it was as good as Annabelle Comes Home. It was probably on par with Annabelle Creation. In my opinion, I've said it already, it just went far too Hollywood, and in some places during this film, it felt much more of an action-adventure movie than a horror movie, and that's where it really disappointed me, and I'm really scared with the way the Conjuring universe is going. I really don't want it to become like a Fast and Furious type thing, where, it was just about street racing, and it was really cool, and I just really enjoyed the first two Fast and Furious movies, but then kind of after that they just become action secret agent movies. I really don't want to see secret agent Lorraine and Ed Warren cutting about, chasing down demons while jumping off cliffs and stuff like that. Obviously it's not going to go that way, but to me this one felt like a real shift from horror to more action, and I did not like that. In saying this though, there are some awesome horror moments once the horror does kick in. I really do have to say the performances put in by the contortionists and stuff like that, and the dancers that they get to do all the kind of demonic possessed movements for the characters who are being possessed. Fantastic. Honestly, best part of the whole movie. Their body movements, the way they're squirming around and just looking creepy as hell. Linda Blair's spider walk kind of started all that off. That was creepy as fuck. But here, they take it to a whole new level with the way these people are moving their body, and it is extremely, extremely unsettling. That was by far my favourite part of the whole film. Ed and Lorraine, once again, their dynamic, their relationship, they're just absolute relationship goals, them two, and I love seeing them together. They put in great performances, standard from them really, and are the best characters in the film. But there is a couple points in here where they do make quite stupid decisions, and it really goes against their characters who have been so level-headed and kind of just smart throughout this series. But I did see them kind of retreading some of the tropes from previous movies, and that's where this one really falls flat for me. Done absolutely nothing new, is very paint by numbers, and yeah, it wasn't creative with what it had to work with. There's also a sort of MCU-like kind of villain aspect to this one, and I just didn't really like it. I really just like my demons being the villains. I don't want any kind of human antagonist in these movies, and yeah, I just really did not like that aspect to this Conjuring film, and it was part of the reason why this one just wasn't really scary at all. It starts off really well. There's a couple of creepy moments in here, nothing that's going to keep you up at night. The jump scares are very bland. It just was not scary for a Conjuring film. I do have to say though, some of the cinematography is very cool. There's some very cool transitions with all of Lorraine's kind of psychic astral projection stuff when she kind of goes into those visions. Some very cool, very nice cinematography, and just real nice shots again, Conjuring movies are always going to look good even if they are not the best. Once again, lighting and all that, colour grading, all on point, all very spooky. Sound design, music, all very spooky again. You know, you got those scratchy strings that always come on when the title card comes up and stuff, and it just all makes for a real unsettling atmosphere. Sadly here, yeah, just there was nothing to back that stuff up. That stuff was having to carry the actual narrative and the visuals, and it's never going to be able to bring it home if the story and the scares are poor and poorly constructed. There's a pretty boring subplot as well that bogs the film down sometime during the second act. It just becomes a little chase through the woods, and yeah, I started to snooze off at that bit, I'm not going to lie. The film it didn't really ever focus on the main problem within the narrative. It says the devil made me do it. We really don't see much of the guy who was made to do it. And we don't really see the devil at all, and he's hardly mentioned, so I felt like the title and how they had marketed it was a little bit off. It's really not the movie I was expecting to go in to see. I was expecting far more something similar to The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where we'd see some of the court battle, we'd see the demonic possession behind it, we'd start to learn that it was the devil and not just some sort of lackey demon, but we don't really get any of that at all. I feel like the film just didn't really know what it wanted to be in parts. If it was trying to be a thriller, a horror, or an action, like I said, it just felt very muddled and confused in places, and the pacing was off because of that. There's parts that, do get you, like, piqued your interest going, but then quickly fall flat again, and it just begins to lull. And I felt the third act really limped over the line and just was kind of filled with cliche crap, and I just didn't find this one good. I just didn't find it exciting at all. Like, it does all the technical stuff right, but just the actual story and what it focused on in the narrative itself was very boring and just default to me, just very generic. There's some really cool effects though in here, and the practical effects that are used are really nice, and all the makeup and stuff like that, that's to be expected with these movies. But for me, this was definitely the worst out of like the mainline Conjuring movies. If this is one, I'm not sure because it doesn't have the 3 in the title, but I would say that it is. I would argue that it is because Ed and Lorraine are in it and they're the main characters. But once again, Ed and Lorraine are really probably the only ones you're going to care about. I just did not care about the new family at all, and that's because we spent like zero time with them. Their characterization is very poor. There's hardly any emotional connection with them, and I just felt like they could have ramped that up a lot more so we actually gave a shit in the third act for the people who were being plagued by this presence. All in all, it looks good, and that's about it. It doesn't do anything new, and in fact, it probably does things worse from the previous movies in the series. So, hopefully we get another Conjuring movie that is far better, because we probably will get more. They're always pretty successful, and I could just see it being one of those franchises that keeps going. It's really good to see a horror franchise have a life like it's had so far, and I do want it to keep going. But they've really got to pick up the quality, because this one it wasn't hitting the mark for me. I was very disappointed. So all in all, I'm going to give The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It a 2.5 out of 5 rating. Yeah, it's alright in places, but it's pretty poor across the board. I wouldn't say it's probably worth the money going to see. Just wait for it to come to TV if you're bored or something like that. But if you're a real big fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren, their characters, and you just really want to get back to the movies to see a horror, or if you really, really do like all of the Conjuring movies, then I'd say go for it. For me, the best one's still the first one. I like The Conjuring 2 as well after that. And then after that, I really did like Annabelle Comes Home. But then from there, it kind of just gets progressively worse. This one's nowhere near as bad as The Nun. The Nun was absolutely terrible, like Slender Man levels bad. Maybe not as bad as Slender Man, but still pretty bad. This is nowhere near that. It's just mediocre. It's just, middle of the road. Alright, throw away. I'll never think about it again, really. But yeah, I'm keen to hear what you guys thought of it in the comment section down below. So if you've seen the film, let me know. And if you enjoyed this review, please do leave it a like. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you're new, subscribe to join the club, and I'll catch you all in the next one.